I used to think resting made me weak. I was always doing, chasing, fixing, until one day my body forced me to stop. I wasn't honestly thriving, I was just surviving. If you don't feel like the soft, radiant, feminine version of yourself, then this video is for you. If you don't know me, guys, my name is Nisi. I am your older sister, everything dating glow up advice. And I work in mental health, and so everything I say is backed in experience and research. So a few months ago, I remember crying on my bathroom floor at 2 a.m. Not my proudest moment. My body was just giving up. Not because of something dramatic, but just because I was tired. Tired of working, tired of always being strong, tired of always showing up for people. I just didn't know how to slow down, and so eventually it caught up to me. And I feel like that is the night that I realized that maybe being soft isn't actually weak. And maybe it's actually what I need to change so that I'm not ending up feeling like this. And that's when everything shifted. So in this video, guys, I'm gonna explain to you how to be in your feminine energy, but more importantly, how to take care of yourself without feeling guilty, and how this is gonna completely change your life and your productivity. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is hyper independence. If you are an eldest daughter brown girl like me, we are running off of hyper independence. Being hyper independent isn't noble. I feel like sometimes we look at the fact that we are independent and the fact that we can do so many things on our own as such a big strength. And I think that I used to be like, yeah, look how independent I am, it's so amazing. We pride ourselves off of it. But in reality, I think what I've learned in the past 2 months is that it's not actually a strength. It's a trauma response that sometimes can be rewarded as being really productive and really smart. But the truth is that it's rooted in trauma. Now, based on however you were raised in whatever household, maybe you're South Asian, maybe you're not, sometimes as a child, we can be raised to think that performing and doing and showing up for people brings us value. So this could look as a kid, when you would get really good grades, your parents would really praise you, and that's when you would get attention, or when you would do for your parents and cook for them or do something for them, then they would kind of give you attention. And so what happens in your childhood is you kind of get conditioned to think that you have to be a doer in order to get validation, in order to feel good, in order to get praise. And so as you grow up, obviously it may no longer be your parents, but just in the world, that's just how you've learned to get validation, and even to just feel good about yourself is by doing and being independent and not having to ask from anybody else. Hustle culture is such a big thing, especially in North America, and especially on social media and stuff. Hustle culture will make you feel useful, but it'll never make you feel worthy. And this is something I had to learn. I had a couple years ago, I had 2 jobs. I used to work 55 hours a week, and I used to go to the gym every day, and I used to just hustle, grind. And yeah, I achieved things, but at the same time, I realized that I actually still was not making myself feel worthy, which is I think what I was subconsciously trying to do. If anything, I was just burning myself out. At the root of everything, I think that we want to feel worthy. We want to feel worthy of love. We want to feel worthy of attention. That's the same thing that in our childhood that we were looking for from our parents. We're looking for it from ourselves. We want to make ourselves feel worthy, but also in society, and buying into hustle culture in order to feel that. You are going to drive yourself nuts because you're not going to feel worthy the harder you work and the more independent you act. You have to feel worthy with or without how you perform. The other thing with hyper independence is that when you believe everything is going to be hard for you and you have to work really hard to get things, you actually subconsciously block the flow of abundance. Now, if you're listening to this YouTube video, I'm gonna say you're part of my community and you probably believe in manifestation. So I'm kind of talking from a manifestation point here. But if you have this belief that you need to work yourself day and night, you need to be a hustler, you need to grind for everything, and everything is gonna be this hard to do, and you gotta work 12-hour days to make your dreams come true, that is actually subconsciously signaling to the universe that whatever you want to achieve is really, really, really hard. And what that's doing is it's gonna do the opposite of the manifestation. You should believe that anything you want in this world can come to you in a flow state and come to you easily. Now, that doesn't mean you don't put in any work, but if you believe subconsciously that you need to hustle and you need to be hyper independent and do everything on your own, you're signaling that the thing I want is not going to come to me easily, and the universe is going to be okay, if it doesn't come to you easily, then we're not going to give it to you. The real feminine energy starts when you stop trying to earn your worth and you actually start being in your worth. That's also a big manifestation thing. So earning your worth can look like through career goals, through having a significant other, through moving out on your own, through showing to yourself that you will never need anybody emotionally, financially, whatever it is. That is what earning your worth looks like. What you need to already act like is you need to act like you are already worthy. That is what's actually going to attract success and love and everything that you're wanting. Start being in your own worth. Start acting like you are worthy, no matter if you worked out today or not, no matter what you look like, no matter how much you achieve, no matter what your salary is, no matter if you're married or not. You are already inherently worthy of love, worthy of success, worthy of praise, how you are right now. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about was culture, and I think that this is where I find a lot of stuff is missing in self-development books and on YouTube. This hyper-independence specifically resonates with, I feel like, the South Asian community, and specifically girls, specifically elder daughters. And so this is for you. A lot of us grew up, especially with immigrant parents, seeing our moms kind of have to do everything. So they were always like no rest for them. They were always kind of in survival mode, you know, making sure the kids are okay, making sure the husband's okay, managing this, managing that. Believe it or not, in a lot of Desi households, the moms were also sometimes managing the finances, managing what's being cooked, managing the household, doing, running. We never really saw like South Asian moms take time for themselves. They didn't really have like their me time or their self-care time or like their own hobbies and interests. Everything was very self-sacrificing for the family. And so I feel like we watched our moms do that, and so sometimes we almost feel like that's how we have to be, even if it's not necessarily for a family. It's just like we have to be in life, like very self-sacrificing. That's kind of like where the hyper-independence and the hustle culture comes in. But I think what happens from this also is that we are taught to be dependable before we were taught to be loved. Now, I'm gonna let that sink in. If you grew up in a South Asian household, you were taught to be dependable before you were taught to be loved. And so what this means is that a lot of times our parents wanted to be able to depend on us. Whether it's depend on us just to help out with certain things, depend on us to contribute to things, depend on us to like survive. We were taught that when we were dependable, when we would show up, when we would help, when we would do, that is when we were rewarded. Sometimes that came before just being loved for who we were, which is kind of like a separate entity than like being a dependable person, you know? Being loved for who you are, no matter how you are, no matter what you do, is kind of like a part that's sometimes missing from South Asian households. And then there's like the part of like you're dependable, you shut up for your family, you do. That's where the whole us feeling like we're worthy when we do stems from. There's so many phrases that even like a lot of us brown girls have heard growing up, like, you know, don't rely on anybody. I have an aunt that literally grew up in Canada, and she used to tell me that her father used to say the last thing you could ever do is rely on a man. You know, you have to work hard, you have to get your degrees, you have to hustle, you need to always be dependable on yourself. My own dad tells me that, and although I don't think it's wrong, I think it is a good thing to like tell a woman. I think sometimes we can take it and it kind of creates this hyper independence. Other thing we've heard is like, you know, make your own money. You can rest when you're successful. You can rest when you're rich. I think a lot of immigrant parents also say this to themselves, but then say this to your kids. Rest when you're a billionaire. Right now is not the time to rest. So rest isn't really prioritized and valued in the home. So that's why when we grow up, we don't really prioritize rest either. Now, because we grew up like this, our body has actually learned to only feel okay and feel safe when we are really sufficient. So for example, I'll give my own example. So there's something called the nervous system in your body, which regulates like your fight or flight, like your caveman, like do I run, can I rest system, and how you're going to act. I've talked about this in other videos, but your nervous system basically is like what makes your heart start racing, what makes you anxious, what makes you like feel calm. It's fully in control of that. And so if you were raised in a certain household and you're raised to be a doer, your nervous system isn't always going to feel calm unless you feel productive, because that is what we've been conditioned in our childhood to feel. We feel good, we feel calm, we feel loved, we feel content when we are doing and we're being productive and we are dependable and we're providing something to society. So sometimes resting gives us anxiety. For example, I was having a really rough week a couple weeks ago, and I really needed rest. Like I really was going through it mentally, physically. I was so busy, I wasn't sleeping properly, and I came home one day and I was like, I really just need a couple hours to myself, right? I knew logically that is just what I needed, like mentally to recharge, to even get up the next day. But my mind actually said, no, Niti, no rest, get up and go make a YouTube video. And I literally had to sit there and be like, why am I so like forcing myself to go work and do something productive when I know logically that this is not a good idea, and it's my thoughts are probably not going to be the most articulate, and I'm not going to do the best work when I'm in this mindset. And I realized it's because the way I feel in control, the way my nervous system feels safe, the only way I feel calm is what I'm doing. So even though there's so much going on in my head, I felt like if I just do and I just be productive, I'll feel better. Do you see how toxic that is? Doing should not calm down your nervous system. Resting should calm down your nervous system, but instead resting is making us feel more anxious because we've been conditioned conditioned that doing, being productive, providing to others, doing for others is what makes us feel calm. In that moment, I would have not been able to produce my best work or even been at my highest productivity level when I have so much going on in my life and I have not rested. Same with you. Your best work is not going to come when you're hustling like crazy and you don't have time to think and have a clear mind. Your best work is actually probably going to come when you're rested. And so this takes me to part 3, which is what being in your feminine energy actually looks like. There's so much on the internet about feminine energy and what it embodies and how to do it, but like this is what it legit looks like day to day. Here's like the contrast that people see. When you're not in your feminine, you seek control in your life instead of just trusting the universe, trusting others, and you also view stillness in time or like rest periods as laziness. When you are in your feminine, however, you allow life to happen to you instead of forcing it. You follow curiosity instead of like your calendar. Like not everything is like super structured. You journal to feel things, not to actually just fix. If you think about it, a lot of us do that. Like we probably just journal because we want to just fix the situation. We want a solution. We want to feel better now. Sometimes you just actually got to feel things out. You move, whether it's like walking, exercising, to reconnect with your body, not to just like hit a gym goal. It looks like creating. Like when you think about it, we are feminine creatures at our core. Like there is a reason why women reproduce. There is a reason why we have a womb. Like we are naturally creators, and I think a lot of times we forget that. Women are meant to create, whether it's art, whether it's life, content, thought. We are actually meant to create, and when you're in your feminine, you are a creator of ideas, a creator of something. And with this creating comes not needing an outcome. You're creating because you're a woman and you're in your feminine. That's what you're put on this earth to do. You're not creating because I have a goal to hit and I need to make money. And lastly, if you're in your feminine, like you let yourself be seen. It means like you're not hiding parts of you. You're like able to be vulnerable. You're able to be soft. You're able to be a woman. Like, you know how there's a saying like woman to woman? Like what that really means is that in your actual true femininity, like you are able to be open and be vulnerable with people. Feminine energy is magnetic. It's not just productive. Now I'm going to give you some actionable tips to reconnect with your feminine, but I want to preface this by saying if you just want to do these tips to be like, yeah, I'm in my feminine, once again, you're not in your feminine because you're just doing to hit a goal. The real change comes from understanding the mindset shifts, from allowing yourself to be restful, from believing that things just flow to you. You know what I mean? But there are obviously actionable steps that can help you feel those things and get into that mindset. So for example, as I talked about creating, start creating without pressure. Paint, write, film content, just because it feels good and you're a creator and you're a woman, rather than like trying to hit a goal or trying to start a business kind of thing. That is a very masculine way of thinking. It could be even a side hobby. Like I'm not saying make it your career. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just you. Maybe it's just drawing, sketching in your truest form. I'm telling you, these are activities that will connect you to your true nature because once again, women are creators. I also think having like a daily like soft moment is really important. And I don't mean like bubble baths and like face masks. I mean like listening to super feminine music. Like I love to listen to rap. Listen, I'm a rap girly, I'm a hardcore Punjabi music girly, but there are certain songs, like there's something that a Beyonce song brings out. There's something that a Tate McRae song brings out, a Jhené Aiko song brings out in me that makes me feel so feminine. There's little things like maybe lighting a certain candle, maybe changing the lighting in your room to like a different mood that actually make you feel feminine. Do something like that for 5 to 10 minutes a day that just like puts you back in that energy. Next, fluid movement. I know a lot of people don't believe this, but there's a very feminine way of moving, and I don't mean working out and exercising. Dancing, stretching, walking, there is femininity in that. I took a heels class, and let me tell you, I have never felt more feminine in my life because of the music and then the way that we're dancing. Go on a slow walk even and just like do it without a podcast and just like connect with nature and just channel your feminine energy from that. But also other things like releasing control, I think is a really big one. This is for anybody who has hyper independence problem, including me myself, is when you have an issue or when you feel out of control of something or you feel the need to control a situation, you need to get it out instead of spiraling it in your head. That could look like writing in your journal, I don't need to figure this out right now, or I don't have to worry about this right now, or I'm letting go of something that I cannot control, and literally rip it up, burn it, and throw it away. I think that hyper independence is like we want control, but when you can't control something, you need to find a way to actually get it out of your body, get that masculine energy and control out of your body, rip it up, scratch it out, and get physically rid of it. I really want to emphasize that being in your feminine energy is not about bubble baths and face masks and self-care. It's about trusting and being being in your softness. And not only that, but feeling safe in it. And I feel like if you paid attention to the mindset tips I was giving, that mindset will attract everything. That mindset will attract abundance. That mindset will make everything easily flow to you. That mindset will attract the right love to you easily because of your pheromones and what you're releasing now. And you will naturally feel calmer and you'll feel less in control. And it's kind of like a cycle. The more you release control, the more you trust, and the more in your feminine you act, the less reasons you have to feel like the need to be hyper independent, and the less reasons you have feel the need to be in control, if you know what I mean. Rest is so worthy. I want to emphasize this. It is so important to rest. I've had to learn this after 25 years of being a non-rester, that even content ideas, for example, like I come up with way better ideas after a couple days of rest. Not when I'm sitting there on my Word document, like trying to come up, forcing myself with ideas, and my mind's in 30 different places right now because I have so much to do. Rest is so important, even if it's just one day a week, literally with nothing. Don't even plan your rest. Also, you don't have to hustle for healing. I don't know why sometimes we feel the need that we need to hustle to like prove to somebody that we're independent and we can do it alone. No, that's you acting out of trauma. Hustle for different reasons if you want to hustle, but healing is actually going to come from sitting with yourself in silence, not by doing. Start small, start soft, and just watch how your life is going to open up for you. I really wanted to shout out to the immigrant kid, to the brown girls, the ones that are stuck in this hustle energy and can't be in their feminine. It's life-changing when you are in your feminine energy, and I'm telling you that from experience. Being feminine is not how you look. It's truly an energy and a mindset, and you can do it if you just change the way that you think. Once again, guys, my name is Neethi. If you are not already subscribed, please subscribe. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram, where I post more shorter form advice and lifestyle content. And comment below if you have any other video suggestions, or if you related to this video, and I will see you in the next. Bye.